came from the absolute. He came out of emanated from the absolute. Would you say
the primordial Adam?
Yes.
Yes, that's our deeper self, so to say, and it contains all the harmonics of life.
Yeah.
Now, the first Adam didn't fully come from there because he was receiving intelligence from the stars. When Genesis 2 says that Adam was made from the dust of Adamah, and he was breathed the breath of life into his nostrils. The breath of life is Nishmat Haim. Nishmat is a breath or a spirit full of life that comes through the sun. But that contained the essence of primordial Adam, but in a very potential way. He didn't develop it.
That was the first time?
The first Adam, it was called first because it came to manifest in
manifested first. Gotcha.
Primordial Adam is the one that contains all the universes. It's a manifestation as well of humanity or mankind, of light in the absolute. But the mankind of light in the absolute has gone through some process. That's the mystery of the king of Edom. In Genesis 36, there are kings of Edom which came before Israel, and 7 of them lost their bodies because they somehow became satanic. But the 8th king preserved his wife, his body. I think that's the expression of the primordial Adam. This is why in Hebrew wisdom they say it's the Messiah, the 8th king of Edom. But primordial Adam understood as the cosmic mind through which the Holy One begins to manifest all potentialities. I think that's the essence of mankind. It's like a seed. It's not manifested, but it came to be manifested in the 8th king and here in our humanity, in the Homo sapiens sapiens through master issues.
Yeah.
So cosmic Adam or primordial Adam is a potential, and we have to manifest it here.
Right. So when they say Adam was in the garden and they walked the animals past him, and he named each animal as he's looking for appropriate helpmate. So at that time, were they seeding these entities with Adam, or were they mixing Adam and these species together as they were walking by him?
That's a very good question. That Adam in the garden named all the creatures of Adamah from the earth and the air. I think that consciousness was infused into that humanity, which contained within all the so-called creation. So all the astral influences were within himself, and he had to imprint his higher essence or intelligence into all the animals that he had within.
Right.
So he had to name all the animals because he had to make Adamic the whole creation, which was little by little constructed or implanted into humanity in stages. Because there was a catastrophe, then a reorganization, which is Genesis 1. And if you notice in Genesis, there are creatures from the sea, creeping creatures, walking creatures. They receive different names. And then in Genesis 1, 26, more or less 27 is when we get to day 6. Day 6 is the gestation of a humanity that contains all previous kingdoms, the mineral kingdom, animal kingdom, astral kingdom. So we contain all the animals within.
Yeah.
The fish represents sexuality. The creeping creatures represent the motor center. The behemoth are the emotional cows or other types of animals have an emotionality that makes them become social. And then we have the mind represented by the birds. So we have to name all those impulses within in the sense of bringing consciousness, awareness. But Adam did not find an appropriate helpmate within himself because somehow those animal natures pull him down.
Yeah.
And I think he was receiving also influences from different creatures from the astral world. The old Adamic creatures were a hybrid of many different species. Even the serpent. The serpent, I think, were mermaids and tritons that existed before Adam. And when they got extinguished physically, they remain existing in the astral plane. So spiritually, they wanted to dominate over the Adamic species. And this is why he listened to the whispers of the serpent. It was passions, but also beings speaking within himself. So this first Adam or Adam Arishon was the reflection of the astral world. Let us make Adam in our image and likeness, and that's Elohim speaking. Elohim are the forces of nature, the architects of light and darkness. So they wanted to make a creature that contained the whole universe as a training, because they somehow were allowed to do that for a reason. Some say the architects only wanted to make an slave, but that's the left side. There is a right side. Because in Anunnaki stories, we find that Enki suggested the creation of man in order to ease the gods from the toil, because they were tired of working for the higher gods. And Enki said, well, let's make a species that contains the intellect of those previous gods and those primitive humans. So he mixed. But I think it's an archetype of intelligence in nature that brought this combination for a reason. It can be slavery, as many understand. It also gives the possibility to rise above all that.
Right. Yeah, and we could see by examining all that's around us and in us, like you can make the the inside like the outside. You could see the animal traits that we have inside of us. You know what I mean? You could see by noticing, a puppy running around barking, you can notice your tendency in growling at certain people or kissing up or licking other people. You know what I mean? So you could notice that, and that could help you in your walk. You know what I mean?
We can even understand that the whole zodiac, the 12 signs, are the animals that Adam had to name in himself to make them into servants, masalim, and not into beasts that rule over us. we can find all the animalistic tendencies in the zodiac.
Yeah,
From
makes
Aries,
sense.
that was the teaching
Yeah,
conveyed in the Torah, in the New Testament. You find astrological
yeah,
allegories. So it's still a task to name all these animals and turn them into servants of the whole cosmos. I think the animals became violent with us because we didn't do the work. We didn't become the guardians of the garden.
mm,
It's true, it's not fully our fault because, as the master said, which father that loves his son would give him a stone or a serpent?
if he asks for a loaf of bread or a toy, yes. No.
Who gave us the serpent in the garden?
Yeah.
Well, the father of lies, but it's not a question of saying, oh, how evil is he? He has his mental workings, his purpose, but in a sense, his purpose is working for a greater purpose because he's putting the stumbling block we have to overcome to
Yeah.
develop our will and our consciousness.
Yeah, because it said all things work to the good who love the
Mhm.
Father.
Exactly.
So